we're so resilient as people. And part of that is we have to be laughing with each other to be able to even keep going another day.
That's the fact, man. If you're not laughing, the joke's on you.
To me, the goal of this show, this endeavor, is to get anybody at any point in their life to check in with, what do I give a damn about? And then feel like they have the agency to endeavor to make a difference on something in their community.
The people you should know in the show, people you should know, are people you could be.
Yeah.
Sarah is hunkered down for another one of our unforgettable, unscripted, unwarranted conversations. Mary Sullivan is here as well. She's walked away from the control center to, I can't decide if you're here to contribute or supervise.
Both.
Great. That's Pooja there in the background. She came with Sarah.
You know how me and Pooja linked up?
I don't.
Pooja cold emailed me because she had seen Returning the Favor.
Yeah.
And she loved this kind of content. And I just loved her sort of tenacity to even be able to, and this audacity to be reaching out in that way. And she felt, and I just said, wow, if someone has passion, I'm going to follow that with them.
This is, this Pooja, that quality is so for sale. It is so
totally
in need.
Totally.
And honestly, if I could find somebody with it, I'd replace Mary immediately. But I can't. And Chuck too, for that matter. Taylor, you could do it probably. If this sounds a little inside, folks, it's because it is. Sarah, if you're familiar, and even if you're not, with Returning the Favor, was a producer who schnurred her way on camera so often that I really had no choice but to bring you on as a kind of co-host for this reboot. In an attempt to shamelessly plug the premiere of People You Should Know, I thought it would be good to sit down and introduce/reintroduce your particular je ne sais quoi to our literally dozens of viewers. How would you, why from your vantage point are we doing this?
You know, I think sort of uplifting programming has had a bad rap because it's been really reductive and one-dimensional.
Well, it's so predictable.
So predictable, totally.
Every feel-good show I've ever seen, at least on network and on cable, from the music to the way it's shot, everything sort of telegraphs what we, the producers, want you to feel at any given time. And I hate that, personally.
Well, I will say that the reason why I went back with you on this, one, because you are one of my favorite improv partners, and you don't wait for, and I have a background in improv. We both have some theater in the background too, and I love the live honesty of the show. We come in with research, we come in with really, vetting and prepping our people, but then we're just responding to life. And I think that's really refreshing, and people can feel that, because like with this uplifting version, sometimes I hear from people saying, well, it's not real, it's not reality, it's not life, as if life is only negative and downtrodden and hard and challenging. And that is one part of life, for sure. But the whole other part of life is delightful and joyful and ridiculous and filled with sort of tenacious attempts at ridiculous feats,
Yeah, well, I remember when RTF was first getting pitched, and I've told the story before, but since Mary's actually here, I think it was you who, I said no, how many times?
Many.
I mean, and to be fair, it wasn't just no. It was hell no, you've got to be kidding me. Why are you coming with this? But the secret sauce for Dirty Jobs was always that BTS camera. So Mary was like, Mike, don't think of it as a feel-good show. Think of it as
the making of a feel-good show.
That's correct. And that's what actually did it for me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what kept that thing on for 100 episodes, and that's why we're doing it now. When I look at the episodes we've shot so far, what is that? What are we doing? And, I've been sort of glibly saying we're picking up where Returning the Favor left off, but I'm not. I guess we are at a glance, and I think the 2 million or so people who were really into episode 101 that never happened are going to be into this. Yeah. But I also know that for me, I'm different than I was 4 years ago. older, more bitter, broken, perhaps. You are becoming more of who you naturally are. And I was just thinking the other day of like the amount of time we spent on camera as I was trying to write that post for my dad's birthday. And I was so pissed off because all of a sudden the crew's ready to shoot and I'm in the middle of this thing. And, you know, he's 93 years old. I can't not put this post up. And so we wind up filming all of it. So I'm like, Mary, we got to put this in the show. And she's like, oh, you know, that could be a bit indulgent. I'm like, well, maybe, but maybe not. I can't decide yet. So I think we're going to use that clip to actually promote. And I'm only mentioning all of this because it's an insane way to think about creating content. But I really think the future has to be some weird combination of genuine reality and an actual mission. And we've got that. I mean, the first 6 people we've profiled, I think are really, really solid. Yeah. And I think by and large, the country's going to fall in love with them. If not you and me.
I think all of the above. I mean, I think you were saying before, asking what is the show, what makes people resonate with it, and I think you just named it. Like, I think there's also a sense of these last 4 years were wild, right? And we have been exposed to more than our brains are meant to handle, and we're burnt out. And
do you think we're over it?
I have had to rest my own burnout that was even subconscious of being too connected to things. And what I realized, and why I actually think even bringing it back to people you should know, it has this kind of like buoyancy in the depth of the sea that is everything going on around, right? Sometimes the waves are super rocky, you're being tossed, it's infinitely deep, you have no concept of time, but it has this sort of buoyancy that you can hold on to remember. It's like the go out and touch grass. Remember what's real. They say when you're having a panic attack or you have anxiety or you're overthinking too in your head, go outside, touch something real. Touch a tree, touch grass, recalibrate. You know, and I think there's something, I know there was something with returning the favor, and I know now, as people who care about real people and everyday people, right?
Yeah.
That if it's not real and it doesn't have a mission and it doesn't feel like it has a greater meaning for me to tune into, it's hard to connect with for me. And that can be a laugh. Like, who said? Anne Lamott said that laughter is carbonated holiness.
Who the hell is Anne Lamott?
Damn it, I should have taken it for myself.
You should have.
I should have. She's a writer, and I just love that phrasing of it because I think that's also part of the service of it too, right? There's like, we can, amidst all of the chaos, we're real people who have hard days, and we also have a lot to laugh about and a lot to connect with each other. We're so resilient as people. And part of that is we have to be laughing with each other to be able to even keep going another day.
That's the fact, man. If you're not laughing, the joke's on you. Most everybody in this business gets worn down and gets a shell, and they really do, just for self-preservation, become inward and brittle. You are outward and spongy. You're fungible. You're squishy. You're happy. You're always, I mean, so I just, I don't let this business break you.
Thank you.
Even if I have to fire you next time.
And that's the adventure of it all. To me, that really invigorates me. I think I'd be bored if the path, like I love, for instance, YouTube right now, where this will launch for the first time, is the next thing. It's already there, right? And there's such amazing opportunity to actually build without any of those pesky other additions that you had to accommodate for in the past, right? Like, and with, I had great executives, I've had wonderful things, but I've also had a lot of people who are disconnected from the ground, being able to control the trajectory of a project.
Yeah.
Right? And as people who know and love people, you and I, right? All of us in this room.
You said people who know.
As
people, look at that. People,
you should know. It's just, to me, like, there's also a betting on us and our own genuine curiosity and passion for people and our knowledge of stories and places and communities that don't see enough light that are amazing, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd put that under the earnest side of the column, but absolutely. Shameless plug. So as long as we're sitting here talking about my new show on YouTube, which as you may recall is called People You Should Know, I just want to take a moment to thank the organization most responsible for letting me do this. They're called Stand Together. And you probably heard me talk about Stand Together on this podcast before. I've known them for years. I've worked with them on a number of different projects. And I think the best way to describe them is to think of them like an umbrella over top hundreds of nonprofits and community organizations that are working on some of the biggest problems our country faces from the bottom up. That's really what Stand Together is all about. And honestly, that's what People You Should Know is all about too. That's what Returning the Favor was all about. We were looking for people with solutions from the bottom up. Look, I'm not trying to pick a fight with the government, but real change usually doesn't come with a .gov behind it. It comes from real people in real communities doing things that actually move the needle. I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of those people as we move forward with this show, but I've got to tell you, it just wouldn't have happened without my friends at Stand Together. You can learn more about them, and I hope you do, at standtogether.org. Just take a look at all of the different ways they're betting on regular people from sea to shining sea. That'll make you feel great, especially with our 250th birthday coming up. Standtogether.org. Sure do appreciate your help, guys. Where were we? Ah, yes, Sarah Yargrow. The kind of show that I've always worked on. Returning the Favor, People You Should Know, Dirty Jobs. Somebody's got to do it. Even 6 Degrees. You kind of have to go where the people are. Mm-hmm. This show, just so people understand, not to put too fine a point on it, but there's no network behind it. There's no big production company. Facebook was behind Returning the Favor. Well, YouTube isn't behind this. We're just putting it on YouTube. And we're finding our own advertisers. We are building a plane in midair. And I've never done it before. I don't want to bore people with too much inside stuff, but it's very strange for me. I've had a half a dozen shows that worked in a very predictable way over the years. And I'm telling you, folks, those days are over. They're over.
I don't think that's inside baseball. I actually think that would be, for so many people who can't find something to watch, it's part of why you can't find something to watch, because the models are totally constricted. The budgets have gotten social media, social media, the attention. You're now fighting for attention there, and that has become legitimately, 70%, and that's probably a conservative number, of people are consuming their data and consuming their programming content just via their phones, right? Just via social media. This is a deeply, deeply entrepreneurial time in the industry. We're always changing, but not at the rate we're changing right now. This is unprecedented.
I want to talk about where we've gone so far with you and get your thoughts on who we've met. But Taylor, stick your face in front of the camera for a minute so just people understand you're in the room too. This is Taylor Wooten. And since we're kicking around people's, curriculum vitaes, what's your card even say now? What are you?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's laughable. There he is on a poster where I met him 10 years ago.
Yeah, he was shooting a commercial.
Yeah.
Material for the foundation.
He was doing were you actually shooting or were you behind the scenes?
No, he was shooting a camera. Yeah. You looked, because we made that up on the spot and we didn't have an actor. And you looked at him and you're like, "Hey, can you come over here?"
Yeah, nice hair. I said, "Your hair looks pretty good." And I wanted to make up a recruiting poster that was the opposite of the college poster that I had in, when I was in high school. But the point is, Taylor's like, "Yeah, sure, man." So he puts on this outfit that's just in wardrobe. It doesn't really fit him. He didn't care. And he just stood there and smiled. And now that thing's hanging in, thousands of schools all over the place. But the point is, he's not a model, except he was on that day. Hey. But
his before picture.
But you were also cutting a movie at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was working on lots of other projects, a lot of TV commercials at the time.
Yeah. So, look, I'm just making the point. All right, you can get out of the shot now. That's enough with your face and your hair. Anybody who thinks that they can put the one thing on their business card and get away with it had better be an accountant.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anything else.
And I actually think that's going to be collectively so reinvigorating for all of us, because we are all more than one thing, right? And sometimes you just, if your book is going to be so short that you have like 2 or 3 chapters, that's your prerogative. But I love to be, I mean, you can be, that's the exciting time of being alive right now too. You have to be, and it means you can be so many things. I mean, I find that really, really liberating as a subject.
So what kind of book are you? Are you a novel? Are you a...
I'm a very thick book. There's a poetry line that I love. It's John O'Donohue. And I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but I want to live like a river flows, dazzled by the bend of its own unfolding. So this sense of never, and that's not correct, but just Google John O'Donohue. I'd like to live like a river flows. And I just love that, because I think what freedom feels like to me is not fully knowing what's next. You know, like that to me is actually like a sign of good health. Every time I've said yes to things that felt like they were outside of my plan, my life has gotten so much more interesting.
So you had a plan.
I had a plan. There was a little while where, so I went to theater school. I went to an art school, and I was in theater, and my track was musical theater. And I was really good at it. I was pretty good at it. I had some incredible Fagin cane work.
Fagin, she's referring to, I believe, Oliver.
That's right.
You played Fagin?
I played Fagin, a Jewish trope.
Jeez.
And I just loved theater so much. It's still the thing I sometimes mourn in some way. I have this sort of duplicity of this other parallel life that I sometimes wonder, not that I could do this again.
Sure.
But
there'll be no money.
There'll be no money. Exactly. But I'm like, hey, what's the difference between this life I've chosen now? No. But I loved theater for this. So, but then I went on and I got my master's degree in social anthropology. And my focus in that was on conflict resolution and how to use humor, inject humor to create sort of bridges of intimacy.
So contract negotiation, hostage negotiating with songs.
Yeah, but make it a musical. I just loved, and I think what I loved is getting to dive into another person's point of view, another person's lived experience. I love this idea of really understanding how to communicate with people, all the subtleties, all the words that go unsaid, right? The biggest illusion of communication is, or the biggest misconception of communication is the illusion that it happened, right?
All problems are communication problems.
They are.
Carnegie.
But that was my path, and that's where I got, I was applauded for that, rewarded for that. I loved that. I grew up in a theater home. That was sort of a prerequisite for being a human in my house.
When did you know that the audience was a thing that you wanted to please?
Oh my gosh. 4 years old, 5 years old. I knew I think it was also this brushing up with this power that you feel when you can shape a room reaction. I also have a twin brother who had a very different personality. And so I was sort of the outward performer, but by contrast, this sort of binary sibling experience. But I just loved play so profoundly. I mean, it's my favorite form of intimacy. It's my favorite way to connect. The closest people in my life, play. It's just critical for connection. But I felt that that's one of my earliest recognitions of self, and something that I had to go through my own level of like, what is a healthy love of that external, and then what is, at one point you have to check that you're not the puppet being puppeteered by audience reaction, right?
Sure.
Which can be hard, but I just love,
because they will ultimately eat you alive
Yeah.
if you let them.
Yeah.
You have to love them, and I look at them as my boss. But I also know that as much as I want to please them, if they think I'm trying to please them, they'll hate me.
Totally. And you'll hate yourself.
But not as much as they hate me.
Totally. True. Very true. Do you have a path like that? You sort of explored, you have had such a rich track that
Everything I thought every plan I've ever had has gone up in flames. Every single one, but they've all led to something else that worked.
Yeah.
Which is why even now, as old as I've ever been, I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm looking at this project, and I can see how it could be really big.
Yeah.
And I could also see how it just gets I up in a rough, tempestuous sea, because it's noisy out there. And I don't really know. But I know we had a couple million people who were wondering who moved their cheese. They've been waiting for a couple of years to see what we just did over the last few months.
Our version of Uplift is really messy and human and relatable, right? I know, and that's something that you guys have held, you and Mary have held such a bar for too, of being like, these have to be real people.
Got to be real.
Got to be real. And real people are flawed. And let me tell you, as we all know, sometimes the best of us, quote unquote, right? The people who are really endeavoring every day to move the needle on something that is like, wow, you can give up. You can give up. You've done enough. But are really endeavoring are people who have really walked through darkness, right? Those are the brightest amongst us. And those people are flawed, right? And it's sort of a badge of honor. That's the kind of person that I'm interested in, one, and who I want to shine a light on, because to me, the goal of this show, this endeavor, is to get anybody at any point in their life to check in with, what do I give a damn about? And then feel like they have the agency. They don't need a permission slip. They don't need, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't need a 501c3. They don't need permission from the government or from so-and-so to endeavor to make a difference on something in their community. And that is like, if we all moved 1 degree, if we all stepped into that 1 degree, one, our life would get better. All the data around service and gratitude and doing something for other people is just like the mark of health and longevity. And two, our problems would be so much lighter and lifted with just small collective movement. And so that's like the point of why I'm in this storytelling world, in this medium, is just, we can't be what we don't see. And when I see people who really have all total legitimacy to just tap out, say, your gig's been hard. This has been a rough road for you. Like, back out. No one's going to flaw you for that. When I see them pushing through, it helps me check my own excuses of why I can't be useful in the world.
No, I get it. I mean, it was the same dynamic. If Dirty Jobs was out of sight and out of mind. You're in a sewer, you're in a septic tank, you're working with real people without a script. And so there's a modesty, and there's no real. I remember arguing with the network about, well, let's elevate them into working class heroes. I'm like, well, I don't think they are heroes. I think they're by and large good and decent people, many of whom are more prosperous than we let on. And maybe I would do that different if I had a chance to go back. But it's the same thing here. Like when we look at Lindsay and when we look at Steve Hotz and when we look at Mrs. Mays, these people are still fundamentally relatable.
Yeah.
And what I like most about putting them out there is that you're not left as a viewer. Like if you're a viewer and you really hear or see a Medal of Honor story brought to life, you wind up shaking your head and saying to yourself, Jesus, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I have what it takes to do what he or she did. The people you should know in the show, people you should know, are people you could be.
Yeah.
Who stuck with you most this round?
Lindsay Phillips. Lindsay Phillips. Lindsay is so resiliently joyful and has had a deck of cards that she's been playing with, right? A challenging hand, right? Lindsay is a mother of 3, and she battled with severe addiction for years. And that led to, not making the healthiest choices in her life, as addiction could lead many people to do. And she ended up being really in need. She ended up doing the brave thing, leaving a relationship, taking her kids to safety with her, and she needed help. And it took a lot of courage and a lot of courage and a lot of strength to ask for help, right? A lot of people don't ask. That's the hardest thing, right? It's an admission of failure of sorts for people. And she asked for help. She went to her church and she got connected with this group called Care Portal. And Care Portal, which is just absolutely amazing, and the way that I think tech could, one of the best uses of tech out there, in the way that Uber and Lyft are for rideshare and Airbnb is for home sharing, Care Portal, as we discovered, is for care sharing, right? Making it really easy, geotagging in your in your vicinity, in your neighborhood. And so she started working with Care Portal, right? They gave her a handout, and it was a hand up because she used it to care for other people. And so now she has been an advocate for Care Portal and goes out of her way to help people in need. She calls herself a care EMT, right? You need the resources, you need, an immediate solve, but you also need someone to treat you like you're human in those moments and to be there for you. And that's what she goes out, and she is that person for people really in need.
So I learned about her from Mary through Stand Together. So
Right.
Stand Together is this organization that's been helping us through this whole journey, but you were a huge fan of them, and you wanted them on the podcast, and I'm like, I don't know, this foster care, we've done this before, I was just kind of like a nudge about the whole thing. But I went to the website, and when you actually look at it, you're right. It's Silicon Valley stuff applied to neighborhood need.
Yep.
And what got me was the success rates. I mean, it's crazy the amount of people who have been served with basic necessities. And of course, the upshot is you wind up keeping kids with their family as opposed to the foster care system, which is almost always a good thing.
Totally.
So it was a great opportunity to meet a totally relatable woman.
Yeah.
And it'll be super interesting to see to what degree this blows up.
Totally. And the fact that it's nationally, right? It's all over the country. So you can, if you are inspired by this, you can activate on that in your community. And I like that it's a network solution, right? It's not just a quick solve and then you leave. It's a continuous, reciprocal ecosystem.
Yeah.
That fuels itself. And that to me is the mark of real solution, right?
You know what I love? When you drag your fingernails on the table like that, you can see Chuck's eyes cross a little bit. It's
Oh, Chuck, I'm sorry. Judalyn from Queens.
Tell me about her.
Tools and Tiaras.
Yep.
Judalyn is an incredibly vivacious 5 foot,
4'9".
4'9", exactly, a generous 5 giant of a spirit who actually wanted to be a superwoman when she was growing up. And she looked at her particular set of circumstances, right? And what is the best use of her cards that she's been dealt. And she played them to be just that and went into the form of being a plumber. And she realized that, she says, instead of a doctor, I'm the person you need most urgently, right? You're going to need me more frequently than you need a doctor. You're going to need me more frequently than you need a lawyer. When people are always happy to see her when she's at their door. And I love that she just didn't even indulge a world where, there weren't other women. She was the first woman to be in the union in Staten
Plumbers
Island.
Union
The
in
Plumbers
Staten
Union.
Island.
Yep. And I love that she just was not deterred by the fact that to make a door, she's going to have to run at that wall a couple of times, right, before she can punch through it. And I just love that. And she has this sort of all the young girls that she brings around her, right, to be able to, at a really young age, to be able to, start working with their hands, to see themselves as really capable. as plumbers and as builders, and how it just also reappreciating at a young age. Like, I love anyone who's also teaching kids at a young age to sort of look around and recognize how fundamental behind every one of these walls, a plumber has been here. My life is easier because a plumber and its artistry and mastery. And she was just so vivacious and funny and playful, and she doesn't take life too seriously, but yet takes it dead seriously.
She takes her work pretty seriously. Yeah. Her organization is called Tools and Tiaras. Mm-hmm. So she's basically making a more persuasive case for this specific vocation to young women.
Yeah.
And obviously that's MicroWorks 101. Mm-hmm. You know, she's one of my favorites too. But can't wait to get behind that one. Mary, what about you? You've been on all these with us so far. We got 6 coming up. Is there one that sticks with you most?
Well, yeah, Judeline was great. And Danny, because I was really behind that organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, explain what it is.
Yeah. Danny and his incredible wife, Becky, started an organization called TACT, which is an acronym for Teaching the Autism Community Trades. And Danny was, he had an interesting trajectory, right? Talk about interesting trajectories. Grammy Award-winning musician, singer-songwriter, taught music to inner city schools in Nashville. All that shifted when his son was diagnosed with autism. Right? And Dylan. And I love that because that's sort of a through line for all the people that we feature, for anyone we feature, whether it's returning the favor or all the people from People You Should Know. There's one circumstance that changes their trajectory, right?
The inciting incident.
Exactly. Denouement is the end? Mm-hmm. Okay. So not quite there yet.
Well, that'd be the Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina, yes. So Danny comes from a long line of tradesmen. He's like 4th generation tradesman. He recognized that his son Dylan, who was diagnosed, was really, really, really. He wasn't able to vocalize. He wasn't able to, he wasn't verbal. He wasn't learning in the same rate or the same way that other kids his age were learning. But he was incredibly good at building and rebuilding things and sort of very tactile. And he realized that there is incredible limitations for this entire community called the neurodivergent community, right? Because just really, which is a fancy way of just saying you think outside of maybe a neurotypical way, dyslexia, ADHD, autism.
The spectrum.
The spectrum, exactly. Which is just a refreshing way to look at everyone's brains work differently. And he comes from a really strengths-based look at it, right? Where it's like you can look at where someone's flaw is, or you can say, what is the thing? If a bear thinks it's a fish, it's going to be miserable. If a fish is being treated like a bear, it's going to look like, it doesn't know what it's doing and it's not capable.
And when the fish meets the bear, it's a bad day for the fish.
It's a bad day for the fish. Exactly. People say that all the time. With Danny, I love everything is a why not? Why can't you do this? These are kids who would never have been given a power tool, in any other context, being handed power tools, saws, being said, yeah, you can learn this, you can do this. You can do this. And in fact, maybe you're actually incredibly skilled at doing this. And I just love he's creating this very on the ground, sort of small-based community solution to a really big problem, which is that the huge amount of people who are going to be leaving the trades, right? What is the number at this point?
Well, 5 for every 5 who retire, 2 come in. And it's been that way for about a decade.
Wow.
And it's, demographically, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And of course, all the stigmas and stereotypes that are making recruiting impossible. So yeah, it's funny for me, Danny was the first favor we returned long distance.
Yeah.
And it was such a great story, but it was so frustrating to be sitting there in my office trying to make sense of this through the Zoom thing at the height of the lockdowns,
Yeah.
So going back to surprise him in this new model, that was great.
Yeah, they're the best. It's like with anyone that we feature, these have to be people who are doing it with or without the camera rolling, right? In fact, we're often slightly inconvenient to them.
Slightly?
Our presence is slightly inconvenient.
Oh, God. I know.
They can't wait to, and imagine me coming in, before they even knew you're coming, I'm just like this person who cannot read the room. I
Right.
am just so bloody annoying to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just push through those social norms. And
You're like Mary Poppins. You slide up banisters.
I like to try. But they're, and the best thing is too, like you get to go into, and I think the way that our show and what I love listeners to even, when they can appreciate when they watch this is not us coming in as a TV crew, us telling you what you need in your life, and we're going to solve this problem for you. We do such intimate research, really connected with people around this person that we're featuring to really understand what is going to be sort of rocket fuel on what they need, right? So from the outside, it may look like they really need X, Y, or Z, but a lot of times you're burdening somebody if you're not giving them the right gift, right? A gift can be a burden.
Oh, you can break them.
You can break them. I mean, unless they want to be constantly evading their taxes and move their operation offshores.
Which we don't recommend.
We don't
Mary,
recommend.
from a legal standpoint, don't do that. Don't
That'll
do
be the
that.
spin-off.
But Mary and I talked about this a lot in the old days, drinking from a fire hose. Luke Mickelson
Exactly. Great
goes from
example.
7 chapters to
Right.
400.
Right.
Right. He was able to scale. But you know what he also did? He quit his job after returning. After his episode airs, he pulls the plug. Yeah. That lunatic goes all in, and now he's got thousands of people building beds all over the country. I mean, that's really banana. I mean, to think about us just Forrest Gumping our way into his world and go, oh, here's some cameras and here's some wood and surprise. And then, like 2 years later, the guy's life is completely transformed. And by extension, a lot of other people's.
Absolutely. But that's everyone on this show, am I able to say the S word?
Salmon?
Yes. Everyone on
I'm
this episode
famished.
gives a salmon. Okay?
Now you can say it.
Okay. Everyone here gives a shit. We
Yep.
really like people. We respect people. And so that people can feel what's real out there now, and I think that's what's drawn them to this show. And we would never work on anything that's not real. There's plenty of other things I could be happy doing. I could be a novelist in the woods in maybe one chapter I
All
will
right,
be.
look, that's weird. And look, for the avoidance of doubt, I have worked on some things that aren't real.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
I've for 15 years I worked in this nonfiction space, which which is not nonfiction, right? I've worked in the reality space, which is kind of the opposite of reality. It's really, really hard to find a way to balance between, okay, this is production and this is a show and this is a network and this is the budget and you're and you're trying to build some sort of trust with the viewer and you think maybe you have something resembling a brand and it's an impossible thing to balance. And the funny thing is we've done it. This endeavor balances that, because what I do now, like you go in first, you do a lot of front work, and sometimes just because Mary doesn't tell me, or just because I'm busy, I show up. I don't know my ass from a hot rock, right? I don't know what's happening, and when viewers see you bringing me up to speed on camera, that's real. I know generally like where we are, but I don't. There's a lot of stuff I do not know. And I'm only there for a day. Like we only do this for like in 7-8 hours. We shoot the whole thing and then we're out. And so a lot of stuff gets by me. And it's not until like a few weeks later that I get to sit with it. And Vince, our editor, will send me a cut and I'll look at it and I'll think, okay, that's what happened on that day. But what's it mean to me personally now? And that's a privilege. And it's also a pain in the ass, but it's a privilege to be able to sit down and go, tell the viewer you have to show them what happened on the day, but you also have to explain, a few weeks later what it meant. And so the trip we took to Fredericksburg, we met this guy, Steve Hotz, who runs a forge called the Black Horse Forge.
The Forge Daddy himself.
The Forge Daddy. And to be honest, I mean, it's not a fun episode from the standpoint that we're dealing with another giant problem, PTSD, veteran suicide. It's heavy.
And it was raining, and it was dark. Yeah.
And I had thrown my back out the day before,
And hurt your
broken my toe. So this is so screwed up. I'm in the midst of what can only be described as kind of a weird and atypical pity party. In fact, the episode opens, I tell you about the time I broke my ankle, apropos of nothing, 4 years earlier, just because I couldn't believe we survived the plane ride. I thought the plane was going to flip over. So by the time you picked me up, I'm out of the plane. I'm shaky. Mary's looking at me like, look at us, we're still alive. This is very exciting. And my toe hurts and my back hurts. And I just wind up going down this weird rabbit hole of self-involved pain. Meanwhile, we're about to talk to a guy who's in the business of saving lives because, 17 vets, more or less per day, punch their own ticket. So it's like, okay, weeks later, when you look at that, like in the old days, I might have been like, all right, we have to cut all of my ridiculous tertiary blather out of this thing or lean into it.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
And that's honest.
No, it's honest.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's incredibly honest. And it ended up being a really, I think when it's honest, and it doesn't always hit like this, but 9 out of 10, I bet on when you take the more authentic path and you lean into it and you really lean into it, you can see more complexity, you can see humor in it, you can see all of that. It's way more relatable, and it ends up kind of illuminating this path that I think that became a really interesting inroad for other people to empathize with why these guys are in pain day in and day out, right? Agonizing pain. Constant pain that we would cross our eyes, right? Like it's just, it makes you feel insane, right? It makes you feel out of your body. And that's a driver for why some people say, I think I can't, if life feels like this, I don't know if I want to live that, right? It's so powerful. And so the relatable pain and agonizing, if not pathetic in category of hurting your toe, right? There's nothing that makes you feel more like a man when you stub your toe, but there's a lot of nerves there.
But it's tough to complain about your toe to a dude with no legs.
But I think you allow the audience then to relate to what pain might feel like in their life, and then imagine that was cranked up.
Well, I hope. Look, I mean, for me, it's micro, macro. There's going to be some micro in all these episodes because, well, there I am. But what Steve has done, and this is something I think is really going to resonate. I hope it does. I'm proud of it. But we've profiled probably a dozen different organizations who take non-traditional approaches to combating veteran suicide. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the swamps of the Everglades, hunting pythons with these guys. And I've been in Indiana at Jason Sademann's place, putting together old motorcycles. There's so many ways to help get these men and women out of their own head and focused on something bigger than themselves. But nobody's batting 1,000 except this guy.
I know.
This forge that he's built and the way he healed himself, right? This is an interior designer who quits his job, joins the army, loses an eye, breaks his back, comes home, and rather than start sketching dresses and interior designs like he used to do, now he's making knives. And now he's literally forging knives, and he realizes he's probably going to be okay because there's something so transformational about the business of forging. So he opens up his Black Horse Forge to other vets. I mean, it's been years now, but he's got like 22,000 have come through.
It's insane. 22,000, 0 suicides.
Right. So look, folks, I mean, if we're looking for a place to land the plane, that's close to where it is. We're looking for people you should know. Steve Haas is one of them. You'll meet him. You'll meet him soon. And what he's done, it ought to be headline news. And what I did on that particular day was so inconsequential. and self-involved that the only sensible thing to do is to jam it all together.
It's a good one. It's a great one. Another thing that I think that makes people you should know really different and really special and sort of rebellious in a fun way, so for the viewer to understand, is we're also connecting people to they get tapped into our entire network. And then we get to have this huge amplifying domino effect, right? Of people who are not waiting around to be granted permission and who have resources that they can share and who can, put their, like we had Luke Mickelson that you cited involved in our very first episode.
Sure.
Right? Because that was a need of
sense.
hers. It made sense. And you're able to sort of jump in and have this amplifying effect, which I just think is so badass and invigorating.
Well, it's 6 degrees of decency.
Yeah.
Basically,
I think it's the power of the show.
Mm-hmm.
People really get it. You're trying to highlight people in the community that are solving the community's problems. And that's why you'll never run out of issues, because we've featured PTSD many times. But
Foster
the people
care.
are different, and the way that they're tackling it are different. And some will be like Sleep in Heavenly Peace, where there are chapters across the U.S. But I think just as important is inspiring people to do it under any name in their own community.
Yes.
To show them what they can do.
Yeah, it's back to the humility thing. And sometimes it's almost, from the sublime to the ridiculous. I'm thinking of Mrs. Mays. I don't know you'll meet Mrs. Mays. She's a radical street librarian in my hometown of Baltimore, And I don't know how a woman comes to the decision to dress up like Little Bo Peep and go to the neighborhood where they shot The Wire and give away books to kids who would otherwise not have access to them. But, when somebody takes it upon themselves to try that, well, hell, the least you can do is show up and get Taylor to point a camera at them and see what happens.
It's contagious, though, to be around these people, right? It gets you sort of off your own butt to get out into the world. Because I just think there's so many, you don't even have to have studies. It's a lived experience, right? Of when you are endeavoring something that's passionate and meaningful. And we need all hands on deck. Whatever you're actually lit up by, go that route. Don't try and force yourself to be, she's really lit up by literacy, really lit up by solving those problems, and wants to go to spaces that were not being serviced.
From the bottom up. From the bottom up.
And that's true. Again, I'm just going to reinforce this because the data is so immense. If you want to live a long, satisfying, nourishing life, right? It's not happy every day in and out, but it's nourishing and you feel content with it. A lot of your life is going to include service, right? It's like you see people who have the veil lifted as they get into, as a bad thing happened to them, but actually was the portal into this other space. And we can do that without having the bad thing have to happen to us yet. And you can do it in a small, tiny way. You're not, you can do it with 1 hour a month. You can do it with, sharing some extra profit you have. You can do it in advertising something on your platforms or your channels or however you actually authentically want to show up. Like, this is what that show also gives. It makes you feel too like, the world's not a complete dumpster fire, right?
My species isn't a total disappointment.
Yeah, but I think that's a big thing to offer. That's a big buoy to offer in a sea where, the headline making machines that is anything on TV at this point, news, all of that's meant to keep us all sort of in our, paralysis of what's happening. You can say, yeah, that's real. And so is this. It's also real. It's equally real. And real change, whatever that means, happens on a local level, period.
I'll tell you what real change means. It means we could really use some change and some actual dollars on the show. Pardon the shameless plug, but our friends at Stand Together have been super generous. They champion bottom-up solutions, and they're helping us. We've had help from our Pure Talk, some of our partners, Groundworks. Ferguson stepped up. Hogland,
U.S. Money.
U.S. Money.
U.S. Money Reserve just came through in a huge way. So So just like when I said before, folks, that we're building the plane in midair, I mean it. There's no network. We have yet to have we don't have an ad sales department, but we're kind of in the spirit of Blanche Dubois, depending on the kindness of strangers and friends. So,
I'll say, just to underscore that, with total humility and only 2% hubris, we are the people to do this too. It's not like we have this fun idea that we're going out into the world. We have got battle scars on us. We have iterated. You know, we did 100 of the returning the favor. The only people that could do a returning the favor are people who had hundreds of hours before that too, right? So like, it is also, we are good stewards of that capital, right? We're good. Like, it's a place to actually get some returns on all the metrics.
First episode drops May 2nd here on YouTube. We're thinking about every other week after that, and we'll have some little surprises for you.
On your channel.
On my channel, right? Because where else would we go? We just got 1 million subscribers on the channel.
Incredible.
So we're excited about that. Sarah Yarbrough. Glad you're along for the ride. Don't know where it's going, but it's a treat to ride with you.
It's a treat to ride with you. I love us figuring it out as we go.
All right, guys. See you next week. People you should know, May 2nd, right here on the YouTubes.
If you like what you heard,
And even if you don't,
won't you please,
pretty please, subscribe. Well, I hate to beg and I hate to plead, but please, pretty freaking please, please subscribe.